But right now on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line, straight from cn2 Sports, Chip Cosby. Chip, good morning to you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming on a kind of a short notice yesterday. It's kind of a slow sports week, but obviously we got Louisville Sugar Bowl. We got a big game today for Louisville on the road in basketball. Kentucky, they're home in basketball as well. So let's just start with basketball quickly here, Chip. Louisville's on the road to Memphis. What do you think about today's game, 2:30?
Well, I think it's going to be a tough test for Louisville. Obviously, Memphis, they're hungry for a top 25 win. I talked with Gary Parrish, CBS Sports today, and he said that Josh Pastner has never beaten a top 25 team since he took over for John Calipari. I know they had a rough start, lost a couple games in the Bahamas. They're trying to put it all together. So I expect to see a desperate Memphis team with the home crowd, sellout crowd, energized. They're going to come out and give Louisville all they've got. But I expect the Cards to be ready to answer the bell. This is a battle-tested team. They've played tough games on the road before. I'm expecting a great game. It wouldn't surprise me if Memphis won, but I really think it's going to be a battle that Louisville will probably pull out late.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be Louisville. I guess Mark could be Louisville's first true road test this season.
Well,
Besides
college
neutral,
Charleston, and then the Bahamas, so it would be.
It'd be their first one. Memphis, they're 6-2 right now. Wins really over they lost to Minnesota, Tubby Smith's Minnesota team, who is a good team. So it'll be interesting. That game again is at 2:30. The other realm of things, 60 miles down the road, Kentucky versus Lipscomb. Nothing too crazy there, Chip. Kentucky should handle it easily, but what would you want to look into this game? Maybe Ryan Harrell, the play of Harrell coming off of the last couple weeks of being back in the mold.
Yeah, they need to. They've got the Louisville game, slowly approaching, and I think they need to definitely get Ryan. They need to get their rotation set.
Yeah.
They need to get Harrell comfortable at that point guard position and move Archie. So Archie Goodwin can be a scorer, which is what his natural role is. I think today will obviously give him a chance to do that. Lipscomb's not going to put up much resistance. I expect Harold to have a big game. They need to get Kyle Wiltshire back on track. They've got a couple. They've got 2 or 3 things they need to show up before the big game in a couple of weeks. And I think today will give them an opportunity to take some of those steps.
Absolutely, Chip. And just kind of on that, with Gorgie Zhang sort of coming off an injury and Kentucky having trouble with its rotation and maybe a slower development than maybe Calipari has wanted to see. How important is the Louisville-Kentucky game to the teams? Because we obviously know it's huge for the fans. And the grand schemes of things, for the team, how big is it for Louisville or Kentucky to win the game?
Well, I think it's big for both of them for different reasons. I think for Louisville it's big because I think you need to beat John Calipari. Since he's come back, they haven't beaten him. He's got a national title, and I think the fans are ready. A lot of people, I think, before the season felt like, Louisville's at home. They've got the more experienced team. This is the year to do it. And now that Kentucky has struggled out of the gate, I think that even puts a little more pressure on Louisville to finally get a win over a John Calipari coached Kentucky team. For UK, I don't think it's quite as big. Obviously, with UK fans, any loss is a catastrophe, especially a loss to Louisville. But I think Louisville has a little bit more to prove in the matchup, just because I think they're the better team, and if they lose that game at home, then you start to wonder, well, Calipari and Rick Dead, things like that. I think Louisville clearly is the better team again, and they're at home. So I think they probably need it a little more. I don't think, obviously if they lose the game, it's not the end of the season. But just from a perception standpoint, I think it's a game Louisville really needs to win.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Both your hits there on Gorgie and Ryan Harrell, Kentucky Louisville. Chip Cosby, cn2 Sports, on the line with us right now. I wanted to kind of transition a little bit over to the football side of things. Obviously, Kentucky's Mark Stoops made the good hire there at Kentucky, but Louisville getting very close, Mark, to the Sugar Bowl game versus Florida. Chip, I just wanted to see what your thoughts were. Obviously, the national media perspective is Florida is going to run over Louisville. They're basically saying that Northern Illinois has a better chance to upset their opponent than Louisville. What are your thoughts about the game?
Well, here's the thing about bowl games. I mean, takeaway. I mean, there's always, outside the national championship game and maybe the Fiesta Bowl. There's only a few bowls where both teams. A lot of times, it just matters on who. The key factor is who shows up and wants more. Now, I think if Florida shows up and plays its A game, it's going to be difficult for Louisville to win. Now, I'm not convinced that Florida's going to just come out and wipe the floor with wipe the field with Louisville like a lot of people are. I think the Gators have some question marks offensively. They don't have a great passing game. At the same time, they could line up and just run it down and be vulnerable at times. And Florida's got a big back in Gillespie. But the thing about this, I've seen matchups like this where one team is excited to be there and it's a big deal. And I think that's Louisville, where there's another team that's kind of just going through the motions. And if you look at the ticket sales, the numbers that were released yesterday, Florida's only sold like 6,500 tickets, while I think Louisville's at 14,000, over 14,000. Clearly, the Florida fans aren't excited. So you wonder if the Florida players are going to come in as motivated for that game as they need to be. If Florida comes out flat, not ready to play, I think Louisville definitely can pull the upset. I think the key for Louisville here, though, fellas, is just got to make it competitive. It'd be nice to get a win, but if you can go in there and go toe-to-toe with Florida, and even a competitive loss, I think bodes well for next season. Now, if they come out there and Florida beats them by 3 or 4 touchdowns, that's really going to, do a number on your preseason ranking for next year. But if they can come out and either win or make it a competitive game, then I think they could start the preseason next year in the top 10. I don't expect it to be a blowout. I really don't. I don't know if Louisville can pull off the win, but I think Florida's offensive question marks, along with, I think maybe a little lack of motivation in the game, I think it gives Louisville a chance.
Absolutely, Chip. I've been researching this game quite a bit, and Florida they seem to just always gain the ball inside their own 50, inside their opponent's 50. So like going in, they always seem to start with short fields, whether it's their defense, whether it's special teams. And Teddy Bridgewater, he doesn't really turn the ball over a lot, and Louisville hasn't really turned the ball over a lot as a team all year. I think that's the key, is to avoid the turnover and make Florida go the distance in this, and I think Louisville will be in the game. So I'm excited. I know Louisville fans are excited everywhere, and I do not think that it will be a blowout in any respect. I got to give the Cards a shot here. Moving on from the Sugar Bowl, we had a really interesting piece of news this week with Bobby Petrino being hired at Western Kentucky. What are your thoughts about Bobby coming back to a head coaching position, particularly here in the state of Kentucky, given what happened in Arkansas and his previous relationship with the fan base here in Louisville?
Well, I think it was only a matter of time before he was going to bounce back. The thing about it, when you're talented and you're good at what you do, you get second and third opportunities. So, I knew at some point Bobby Petrino would get another opportunity. I think it's a good situation for Western. I think they really come out ahead of it in all of this because, you get him, you sign him to a 4-year deal. If he leaves, he owes you $1.2 million. So, and if he leaves after 1 year, you actually make money because
Exactly.
he's making $850,000. The $1.2 million buyout, you actually could come out, $350,000 ahead. So, you look at the exposure that Western's getting out of the deal. I mean, they've been all over the national media since the hire. I think it's a low risk, high reward situation for them. And I think Bobby Petrino, he knows this is probably, if he screws up again, he's probably done. So
yeah, for sure.
He wants to get back to the big time. So I think he'll be on his best behavior. They'll win some games. He'll eventually move on, and I think he'll elevate the program enough in the short time period that he's there that they'll be able to go out and get a good coach. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. Regardless of what you think of Bobby Petrino, he's good at what he does, and he was going to get us another opportunity somewhere. So why not West?
Yeah, I think it's a good hire as well. I mean, like you said, no risk, but nothing but a reward there for Western. And yeah, he won't mess up whatever he does. He will, even if he wants to leave, which most people probably assume he will at one point. I think he will fulfill a contract at least, which is what he should do. Chip, before I do let you go quickly, I just want to see, since Bobby did take over Western, what do you think about Willie Taggart going down to USF?
Again, I think it's a win-win situation. You know, Willie's obviously from that area. The only concern is the with South Florida with the future of the Big East.
Yeah.
But still, he's down there in an area where he'll be able to recruit. I think, it's probably right now a step up from Western Kentucky. I think he'll go down there and win, and he'll set him. Willie Taggart, I think, is going to be a star. I think he's got, the personality, he can recruit. And, I've talked to a lot of people, down in Bowling Green. His X's and O's are underrated as well. So I think it was a good move for Willie, and I think, he'll be there. But I think within 3 or 4 years, you'll see him move up another notch on the totem pole, because I think he's that good.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I knew somebody would look at him. I was thinking Louisiana Tech, maybe a couple. There's a lot of openings, obviously, but South Florida was a good one for him. Chip, anything going on cn2 coming up here soon? Everybody needs to check out the show, obviously. Let them know what times.
Yeah, we've got we're on cn2 Sports. It's on weeknight, 6:30 and 10:30. We'll be out at the King of the Bluegrass tournament on Thursday.
Okay.
Taping the show from there at 7 o'clock. So those of you who want to go see some good high school basketball and, come check out the folks at cn2. We'll be out there Thursday at 7 o'clock. So, again, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on, Chip. Go enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I think good points about Bobby and Willie Taggart. I really liked what he said.
Absolutely.